All right, guys, this is Andre with the Crypto Ball, and this is a continuation of 6 out of 100 on CoinMarketCap with XRP. But I wanted to separate this into two videos because I think that there's something very important to talk about when it comes to XRP and the lawsuit that is happening, the legislation that's happening against them with the SEC. A lot of people think that this is based on, is XRP a security or not? And I do think that was the easiest way for them to get into a lawsuit with XRP. But there's actually a bigger problem at hand for the US government when it comes to XRP. And that bigger problem is that the US government controls SWIFT. Now, what is SWIFT and why is it important to the legislation affecting XRP? Well, SWIFT stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. And essentially what SWIFT is it connects more than 11,000 financial institutions in more than 200 different countries and territories, and it is estimated that more than 40 million messages are sent through SWIFT per day, enabling the exchange of trillions of euros between companies and governments around the world. Now, this is very important because the US government just utilized SWIFT to cut Russia off from their normal financial activities. Why is this so important? What it allows the US to do is to essentially cut off the central banks of other countries and other individuals that are in those nations from having proper access to financial instruments such as SWIFT. And when we're talking about XRP and how XRP was kind of evolving finance at that time, right? And really putting pressure on something like SWIFT, which the US uses all the time and is a massive project. This is really why I believe that XRP was in legislation and lawsuit then, and also why XRP is in legislation and lawsuit now, because this has real world ramifications as we see right now. We just cut Russia off from using SWIFT, but imagine if Ripple XRP took off and it was really taking off, guys. Once again, let's take a look at the charts here. Going from cents in 2014 to a whole $3.50 in 2017, it was flying. And it was really going against Ethereum and really putting the pressure on SWIFT. And when you are a nation that controls an entity like SWIFT, which really gives you the authority to monopolize finance, what does that allow you to do? It's a big stranglehold on the world and allows you to really bolster yourself in financial conditions against your enemies, whoever they may be, as a Russia or a China from a geopolitical standpoint. And that's why I really wanted to bring this up, that SWIFT versus Ripple will destroy SWIFT, but it cannot do that under the constant legislation and lawsuit of the US government. And so we really need to be taking a look at SWIFT versus Ripple, SWIFT being able to be coerced by a centralized entity like the US versus Ripple, which is a little bit, it's still very centralized, but it's a part of a ledger system, and it's something that is going to be a little bit harder to maintain for these global governments, right? Don't get me wrong here. Ripple is known to work with governments, especially now, because they have been under this constant legislation, constant lawsuit. You know, this is what happens when you really innovate the global financial systems here. And so let's take a look at SWIFT versus Ripple, right? So the way people send money from one country to another has not dramatically changed since the 1970s. Despite the advent of the internet and new digital tools, sending money across the world is still complicated. There is no visibility on what occurs during the process. Settlements can take multiple days and are usually very costly. How cross-border payments are made today. SWIFT, as a financial messaging system that runs on a network of thousands of banks across the world, the SWIFT system allows banks to exchange information about financial transactions in a standardized way. Yet SWIFT is just a financial information communication tool that tells one bank to debit an account and credit another. It doesn't actually move money. It doesn't actually move money. For banks to conduct cross-border transfers, a relationship between them needs to be established. Banks with direct relationships have accounts set up at their partner banks overseas. These foreign accounts are called nostro vostro accounts and are pre-funded with foreign currency to enable cross-border transfers. So guys, when we're talking about SWIFT versus Ripple, we're talking about SWIFT, which is essentially just a bank communication system, and Ripple, which is actually facilitating transfers. These are really big differences. And honestly, what we really only need to focus on is, what does government control? Government controls SWIFT, where they would have a harder time controlling Ripple, right? And this is why I say that the lawsuit, why I say that the government focused on something like Ripple rather than something like Ethereum. Ripple has brought this up in courts numerous times. Why is it that Ripple was even put in this type of legislation and not Ethereum? And honestly, the answer is for no reason. They selected Ripple, and my thought is that they've selected Ripple based on this. They don't want to lose their global control system between these banks on a global scale, where the US can really throw their muscle around and impact some of their greatest enemies, right? Why would the US government want that to happen? They don't. They don't want that to happen. And that is one of the main reasons why Ripple is under this constant bombardment, right? Constant bombardment here. So this is kind of a diagram going over SWIFT. And what are some of the issues regarding SWIFT? Cost, right? Involving many intermediaries translates to increased costs. Correspondent banks charge a fee or commission, which can apply to both the sender and recipient for facilitating the transfer. The bank that conducts the currency exchange will do so at a prevailing foreign exchange spread. And as a result, the average cost for the bank transfer is 11%, while typical payments, typical business payments can cost up to 30 USD. Time. Transactions can take between 3 to 5 days to settle. I don't even need to say anymore. That's ridiculous. Transparency. Usually the sender has very little visibility on the whole process. Since SWIFT is a one-way messaging tool, it is only once the transaction is done that the sender can know how much they have been charged. And errors. Guys, anytime that you're dealing with intermediaries, you're going to have errors, okay? Ripple, disrupting the model. Targeting the money transfer pain points, Ripple is using a blockchain-based network to improve the way transfers are done. Ripple is a real-time gross settlement system, currency exchange, and payment network built specifically for the direct transfer of assets. Remember, SWIFT does not on its own move assets. It's just how banks talk to one another, how financial instruments talk to one another, and then they have money already there, and they're just crediting and debiting the money that they already have. That is not like Ripple. We're actually sending assets using XRP, and that is a major difference. Guys, I'm going to put this website in the description of this YouTube video so that you guys can go in and read. I know this is a bunch of information here, right? But essentially, this system provides transaction clarity, a greater speed, and lower costs than SWIFT. And this is, we see it all the time in cryptocurrencies, right? When you have an innovative, globally applicable use case, right? And it's disrupting the status quo, the traditional assets, you're going to get legislation. And the reason why this was such a big deal, the legislation on this, is because Ripple, XRP, was one of the first lawsuits, legislations from the SEC on a very big cryptocurrency, right? And that is still going on today. And we can see why, because the US is moving their muscle using the status quo, traditional asset ways of financial institutions and instruments to manipulate our geopolitical experience on a global scale. And I just wanted to bring that up as we start to move into these more obscure coins on CoinMarketCap from time to time. I am going to do a part 2 or things like that on some of these so I can give my personal opinion. This is my personal opinion on why I think XRP Ripple is still, to this day, in these lawsuits, and why the SEC isn't going after Ethereum or these other things. It's because Ripple is in direct conflict with a U.S. power structure, a U.S. financial instrument that it can manipulate in order to change geopolitical, um, you know, conflicts. And we're using them right now, currently, as sanctions. So just something to look at. Hey guys, this is Andre with the Crypto Ball. Remember guys, this is just my opinion. I'm just sharing my opinion on the markets. Let me know, do you guys think that XRP is going to come out of this lawsuit in a strong position? Or do you think that they're just going to be torn down by the overzealous SEC and really just fumble this bag? Let me know in the comments here, guys. I'll see you guys later on. This is Andre with the Crypto Ball. Peace.